to serve Radharani is more than simply chanting Radhe, 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 Radhe. We were talking about this last night, that you go to different places and what Radharani wants. And I'll give you, tell an interesting story that illustrates what Radharani wants. Once upon a time, it's all right. Once upon a time, there was a Brahmin in Mathura who was, this is from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He was worshiping an expansion of Radharani in this material world that's known as Chandi, Durga, Parvati. It's like Radharani expands as the queens of Dwarka, and then she expands as Sita Devi, and then the Lakshmis and the spiritual world, and then she expands as Durga in this material world. And of course, Durga is associated with Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is the expansion of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu looks at this material creation, Saikshita, and that look or the glance is described as Shambhu. So anyway, so he was worshiping Durga, Parvati, and he was in Mathura. He was a Mathura Brahmin. So at the same time, there was this great devotee of the Lord who had just come back to the spiritual world. His name was Sarupa, previously Gopakumar. He had just come back to the spiritual world, realizing his eternal nature. And he was with Krishna as a coward boy, enjoying the coward boy pastimes. And then what happened is that Radharani came to him and said, I have a mission for you. Please come here. And he said, of course. Everyone in Goloka Vrindavan serves Radharani. Whether you're a coward boy, whether you're grass, whether you're Mother Yasoda, whoever you are, you're all working under Radharani. Vrinda Devi, she's also expansion, she's Shakti. Not these people, not Jiva. The primary associates, Nitya Parshad of Krishna, are Shaktis. Like Radharani, Shakti, different category, not like us. We are Jivas. You cannot become a mother, like you cannot become Mother Yashoda. You can take on the same mood as Mother Yashoda or assist Mother Yashoda. But you cannot become Mother Yashoda. You certainly can't become Radharani. Although there's some so-called religious people say you can become Krishna and Radharani. And I remember there was one couple that came to our temple, and the man said, she's my Radharani, and I'm her Krishna. Anyway, sometimes I joke with the devotees. We have one nice devotee here who performed Radharani's pastimes, Chital Sundari, and then she did a very nice job of showing the pastime of the bumblebee, Radharani talking to the bumblebee in separation from Krishna. And I joke, you're Radharani. But actually, we cannot become any of these personalities. We can assist. Generally, the devotees in the Krishna conscious movement, they aspire, those in the Madhurya Rasa aspire to be Manjari gopis, that is, assisting the gopis in their relationship with Krishna, assisting specifically Radharani. So anyway, so Radharani calls this coward boy over, because everyone's serving Radharani. She calls Sarupa, and she says, I have a mission for you. And he said, whatever you want, Mataji. She's a mother. Whatever you want. And she said, go to the material world. Go to the material world and save this Brahman, this material Brahman. Actually, it's similar to the Prabhupada story, that Prabhupada was told by Krishna, and of course Radharani, to come to the material world to write some literatures and save us and be the founder Acharya of ISKCON. So he went to the material world, to make a long story short, talked to the material Brahman. How he talked was very interesting. His preaching was very much, let's say, in tune with what the material Brahman could hear. Sometimes we may preach a little too heavy, telling people they're going to become dogs in the next life. It sort of drives them away. I did that when I first joined the Hare Krishna movement. I even told my parents that, and it didn't really help. So this devotee, Sarupa, in the material world, as I said, he was Gopakumar before. He preached by telling the story of how he came to Krishna consciousness. And that's the major portion of this book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, told by Sanatana Goswami, is that story. So we're not going to tell the story. But that's how he preached. And he brought this Mathura Brahman back to Godhead. And the Mathura Brahman assumed his original spiritual body too when he went back to the spiritual world. So the point I'm making is that Radharani, being, in one sense, mother, actually Prabhupada did say that too. I mean, of course, Durga is our mother in the material sense in this world. You know, she's the mother of all of our bodies. She's the material energy personified. But Radharani is mother too in one sense. I mean, obviously, you go back to the spiritual world, they have a different relationship. That's all right. You may be one of her assistants. But Prabhupada said mother Radharani. So she wants all of us to come back to be with Krishna. So we ask about how to serve Radharani. I mean, some people think you serve Radharani just by telling stories, which we do sometimes on Radhastami, of how Radha and Krishna did this, Radharani got angry at Krishna, Radharani's associates took sticks to beat Krishna. We tell this interesting story, we can tell it now. How one time there was a tax pastime, and Radharani and the gopis came back to pay their taxes after it was a deal. They would come back the next day, and they came back with 10 million gopis, overpowered the coward boys, tied them to trees, and beat them with sticks, including Krishna. So, anyway, so, you know, we tell these stories, but actually, that's pleasing, but what really pleases Radharani is we bring her children back to the spiritual world. And what really pleases Krishna too, also the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, we find the story of Gopakumar, who I mentioned became Sarupa. When he finally got back to the spiritual world, Krishna fainted. He was so happy to see him. And all the other coward boys and gopis in Vrindavan thought that Gopakumar, Sarupa, had poisoned Krishna. They thought he was actually one of Kamsa's servants, and he had done something bad to Krishna. So, actually, Krishna was in ecstasy. And Krishna mentioned to Gopakumar that I personally appeared as your spiritual master. Because Gopakumar had a spiritual master too, who gave him the mantra, instructed him in chanting the mantra, and other things like that. Krishna said, I personally appeared. And that's actually true for all of us. Sakshat Hari Tvena Samasta Shastra. Now, the spiritual master is not Krishna in every sense of the word, but he's representing Krishna, just like the country appears through its ambassador. Like if you want to, just like some of you went to Australia, and to go to Australia, you had to get a visa. You didn't go to the Prime Minister of Australia, did you, to get the visa? I don't think you did. What you did is you went to the embassy. And probably you didn't even go to the ambassador. You probably just went to one of his assistants. But still, it had the same effect. So it's non-different than being accepted by the Prime Minister. So in that sense, the spiritual master is the ambassador of Radha and Krishna. And if he accepts, then it's non-different from being accepted by Radha and Krishna. Very interesting. Because we're servants of Srimati Radharani. So, in other words, that's what will make Radharani happy, that if, not simply serving the spiritual master, you know, what pleases the spiritual master, what pleases Radharani, is to bring people back to Krishna's lotus feet. And Krishna himself, of course, we all know that verse in the Gita where Krishna says, no one is more dear to me than he who teaches this Bhagavad Gita to others. And there will never be anyone more dear to me. Pretty emphatic, isn't it? He emphasizes there is no one more dear, and there will never be anyone more dear. So that's Radha and Krishna right there. And that's how we worship Radharani. Not simply chanting Radhe, 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 Radhe. But getting others to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And this mantra is a manifestation of Radha and Krishna, non-different than Radha and Krishna. It's a deity of Radha and Krishna. Hare is Radharani in the vocative case, calling out, oh, Radharani. I mean, when you're really calling out for help, just like Lord Chaitanya states in the Shikshashtaka, Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam am vishameva budo kripya tava panka astita duli sadrasam vishintya. Oh, son of Nanda Maharaj, this is the same mood. I am your eternal servant, but somehow or other, I have fallen down in this horrible ocean of nescience, birth, and death. Please fix me up as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. So that's crying out. So we should learn to cry, not necessarily in tears, but we should learn to cry when we're chanting. It's not just ritual like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. I mean, of course, we avoid the 10 offenses, which I have to mention in initiation. 10 offenses, obviously, don't commit offenses against Vaishnavas. Don't consider the names of your favorite demigod. Everybody has their favorite demigod. There's a story in the Mahabharata. Someone wanted to worship a demigod who no one else worshipped. You ever read this story in the Mahabharata? And he looked at a cloud that was a demigod. And that demigod was so pleased with him because he was the only devotee of that demigod. So if you got to worship the demigods, pick one who has no other devotees, and you'll be very successful. But Lord Shiva has too many, Durga has too many, Ganesh too many. Look in the cloud. There's a nice demigod over there. Anyway. One should not think that the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Ganesh, Cloud are equal to or independent of the holy name of Lord Vishnu. So that, that offense one should not commit. And then one should not disobey the order of the spiritual master. And then one should not blaspheme the Vedic literatures. One should not consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna of the imagination. One should not give some mundane interpretation of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. One should not commit sins using the Hare Krishna mantra every time you take your kava. Just like that's exactly what's happening in many of the mandalas, isn't it? Because they chant Ram, Ram, and then they drink their kava, right?
Yes.
It's exactly, that's committing sins on the strength of chanting. Right there, you get a perfect example of it. Because they're chanting Ram's names, talking Ram Katha, Ramayan, and it doesn't work. They just remain degraded. So anyway, so committing sinful activity or thinking chanting is like a ritual. Like, even we have different rituals. We have fire sacrifices, we have dhotis, we have saris, we have tilak and everything like that. But the chanting of Hare Krishna is transcendental to everything, even we do. Because the deity worship is directly Krishna. So it's not just a ritual, like in the karma, especially not the karma kanja rituals for material upliftment. And then one has to be careful about who you speak the glories of the Lord to. Because if you speak the glories of the Lord to those who are envious or critical, then what happens is you're committing an offense, because they will actually commit more offenses. Like, you don't explain things to people who can be nasty. For example, let's say someone hates you and your family. You don't show them your child. That would be very bad. You say, oh, here's the cute little kid I have. And they say, oh, he's ugly as sin. Because they'll commit offense. You're just giving them opportunities, and you're responsible. You're culpable for that. And then finally, one should try to get rid of material attachments, not maintain them. So getting rid of material attachments is very, very important, in spite of hearing so many instructions. So how do you get rid of material attachments? Very easy. I was just reading in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, It talks about having a higher taste or higher pleasure. One has a higher taste, higher pleasure, and the one becomes fixed in consciousness by taking pleasure within. It says one who takes pleasure within, whose joy is within. Is that the final one? So, it's good. Just in time. It's like the ladies always come late for the marriage. You know, I've been in some marriages like 2 hours, you're sitting under the sun until a lady comes. I'm getting ready to curse her. Anyway, so, not her. And also, sometimes it's mentioned it's also offensive to be inattentive by chanting, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur says all the offenses are, let's say, foundationally connected. What's that? To inattentive chanting. Does everybody understand that? Because if you're attentive, you're not going to commit offenses. And if you're inattentive, there's so many things to go on. You'll be thinking about so many things, criticizing others. I mean, our natural tendency in this world is to be like flies. You know, we're not like the bumblebee that Radharani was talking to. Our natural tendency is to look for fault. Someone may be beautiful, wonderful. We look at that one spot. We look at the moon. The moon is very beautiful. And then someone just says, what an ugly planet it is, because it has so many spots. So this is our tendency. So our tendency should be looking for the good in people. But unfortunately, due to our conditioned nature, Matsarya, we're envious. So therefore, we have to be looking always for the good. Anyway, so those are the 10 offenses. So getting back to the point, we have to be crying when we're chanting Hare Krishna to achieve perfection. Of course, we chant 16 rounds, but don't think I'm chanting because I have to get these rounds done. I'm chanting because I want to connect with Krishna. I want to please my spiritual master. I want to be empowered to preach Krishna consciousness. I want to bring people to Krishna. These are good motives, but don't chant because I have to finish them. Like Prabhupada one time jokingly was chanting on his beads and he finished his 16 rounds. And Prabhupada moved his last counter bead down. And he said, now I finish my rounds, I can do any damn thing. He was joking. It was a joke. Because you can't do any damn thing. You have to be attentive, and the way to be attentive is to have some sankalpa. Just like before fire sacrifice, there's sankalpa. You know, we're here today, this particular day, this particular time, doing this fire sacrifice, doing this initiation or marriage or whatever you're doing that particular day. Sankalpa. So you have to have some intention. Why are you chanting? Not you have to. I'm choosing to chant because something positive. You figure out the positive thing. Because I want a new car? Not a good idea. Krishna, one can chant, oh, my wife is yelling at me too much. Let her be peaceful. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Then all of a sudden, it becomes peaceful. Thank you, Krishna. So, anyway, we have to have a positive spiritual mood for chanting. And it has to be intense. Like Dhruva Maharaj, he was intense. I mean, his mood was not exactly transcendental in the beginning. Later on, it became completely transcendental. But it was intense, even so intense that when Narada Muni tested his intensity, he didn't listen to his, even spiritual master was testing him. Narada Muni said, go back home, Dhruva. You're just a kid. You know, you're supposed to play and watch mobile phones or something like that. Anyway, you're supposed to play and be happy. Later on, you know, when you retire after being a king, you can figure all this out, Dhruva. And Dhruva said, no, I can't accept that instruction. Because he was Kshatriya. But in one sense, we all have to have that determination of the Kshatriyas. Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness is not for sit-down devotees. But for devotees like Arjuna, like Kshatriya. Kshatriya means not fighting with each other. But Kshatriya means to go out there in the battlefield. How do you think this movement was spread by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada? If you see a picture of Srila Prabhupada, when he first took sannyas, he's standing there with his danda, and his danda looks like a gun. He looks like a soldier in the army, really. If you see the picture of Prabhupada standing next to some of the others who took sannyas like Sanatana at the same time, he's like, ready to charge. Like they say, 1, 2, 3, charge, shoot. Right? That's what they do in the army. And he's ready. And he came to America and, challenged at 70 years of age. That's a devotee of Radharani. Prabhupada's father, Gaur Mohan, he prayed for a pure devotee of Radharani. So if we want to know what a pure devotee of Radharani is, just learn about Prabhupada. That's what a pure devotee of Radharani is. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Prabhupada very rarely talked about Radharani because it was such elevated subject matter. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, even when he went to Radha Kund, he was giving class, I think, on the Upanishad or Nectar Instruction or something like that. Even when he went to Radha Kund, you think you go to Radha Kund, Radhe, Radhe, Shame Ladhe, as they say in Vrindavan. He didn't do that. He spoke about basic ABC Krishna conscious philosophy. And he is a devotee of Radharani. Right-hand man of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because that's what Bhakti Vinod Thakur prayed for. Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Radharani. And so that's how we know how to please Radharani, by examining. So they're like soldiers. So we should be like that too. We're an army that's meant to conquer, a movement that's meant to move, not an institution that's meant to simply put down roots. Like Prabhupada said, also we should maintain things. Prabhupada said, don't make him like Alexander the Great, because Alexander the Great conquered, but he didn't take care of things. And, after he conquered, and of course then, later on he fell in love and everything fell apart. Because if you know the story of Alexander the Great, he was so attentive to his person he loved that his soldiers missed him. He said, what happened to the general? He fell in love. So you fall in love, it's all right, but bring your loved one out to preach too. We have no problem if you fall in love, but you should both go out and preach and love together out there, and love everybody. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmana ivanu pashati sarvabhutesha chatmanam tatona vigigutrate. So that's Radharani. And that's what initiation means. You're being initiated into serving Prabhupada's mission. Prabhupada is everyone's ultimate Shiksha Guru. You may have Diksha Guru, but the ultimate Shiksha Guru sets the standard, the mood for all of us in Krishna consciousness. And it's very exciting. Like, I'm very excited to come here and see all these new devotees. People taking initiation. It's not that I'm trying to accumulate disciples. I think I have enough of them already. I need a database to keep up with everybody. Supercomputer and a database. But the point is, it's just so exciting. New people coming to Krishna. Whoever they get initiated by in ISKCON, it's exciting. That's what gives us life. But if you simply come, it's the same old people. And they just get older each time you come. You get in certain places like that. They don't get younger. They just get old. Oh! My boxing partner. I'll hit you later, don't worry. Not during the initiation. Thank you. All right. No, that's all right. He's a real Kshatriya. So, anyway, getting back to the point. So, yeah, this is Prabhupada's mission, and we're meant to save the world, and that's what's exciting. And somehow over here in Nadi, things are going on well. It's being directed by Rasa Vihari Prabhu. And I've been telling the devotees to try to understand how Rasa Bihari is making all these devotees everywhere, and try to and how to copy success. You understand? So that's one of the items in business is if you see someone successful, copy them. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, like if you see a wheel on the car, you think, well, maybe we should have a square wheel. Maybe that'll work better. It looks round, you know, who cares about that? But you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And what I'd say, I mean, just my understanding, analysis of how why you're so successful. Of course, the preaching is wonderful. Russell Bihari is preaching nicely, but everyone's so personal. There's care for devotees because, as Prabhupada says, that people join the movement, or the movement expands by the process of Dadati Pratikirnati, Guyam Akyati Prichati Bhunte Bhojyate Chaiva, by loving exchanges. And that's what I see, you know, the Rasa Bihari is expert in teaching you all how to have these loving exchanges. I mean, just like, I saw even when Rasa Bihari was gone, I saw other devotees like Kirti Raj, like serving devotees who were sick or in the hospital or something like that. So they've imbibed that spirit of service, because that's really what we are. We're Gopi Bharta Padakamala, Dasa, Dasa, Dasana, Dasa. We're servants of a servant. Nobody's, I mean, even I'm sitting here, I'm not thinking I'm the master, you know, I'm so high. If it got any higher, you wouldn't be able to see me. You know, they put me on a big high seat. But you know, sometimes if you're on a high place, when you actually slip, you get injured. There's an interesting story when I was young about the frogs. Once upon a time, there was a frog who got a benediction from a sage that you become the king of anything as much as you can see. So the frog said to all his frog people, he said, you make a pyramid and I'll stand on the top of it. And you make that pyramid like 20 frogs, you know, like 20 of the first level, 19 of the second. You understand what I mean by pyramid. Sometimes when we were young, we'd make pyramids with our friends. So 19, 18, 17, all the way to the top. And so this frog who got the benediction from the sage climbed up on top of the whole pyramid. But the problem is when you got something really tall like that, it tends to wobble. So the pyramid was going like this and this, and then there was a cyclone. Anyway, and it blew the pyramid over, and this frog ended up with his head in the mud. So the moral of the story is he became the king of the mud. Because whatever he could say, he was the king of. You know, that's a story I learned when I was young. Why someone should be humble and a servant. I mean, it's also a Krishna conscious story because it illustrates the point. So, yes, the person who serves everybody else is actually the greatest. And so that should be our mood. And we serve all humanity, not only the devotees, we're making not only human beings, every living entity. We try to bring them to Krishna's lotus feet. Like Haridas Thakur was asked by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to save even the inanimate living entities like trees. And Haridas Thakur replied, the loud chanting of the holy name, like you're going on Harinam here every week. So that loud chanting will save people. That's at least Namabash, they get liberated by the Namabash chanting. So that should be our mood, serving each other, serving humanity, serving all living entities, cooperating together. Prabhupada said your love will be tested by how you cooperate, being compassionate, and then you get Radharani's mercy. Then you realize, what is Radharani's mercy? Ultimately, you realize your spiritual nature. Whoever you are in the spiritual world, whether you're one of Lord Ram's monkeys, you may be. I mean, if you're from Fiji, you may actually be. You never know. I mean, everyone loves Lord Ram. So maybe we'll see a whole group of monkeys from the Hare Krishna movement. Whether you're Lord Ram's monkeys, or one of Radharani's personal associates, or one of the Coward Boys, or you go to the Lord of Singadev's devotee, whatever. you realize it by Radharani's verses, because Radharani expands in all the spiritual planets too. Like you have Lakshmi Nrsimha, Lakshmi's expansion of Radharani. So Radharani, we approach her in his way, the preaching movement, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radharani, he does exactly that. And that's how we become Krishna conscious. So, with that in mind, because we have to can't go on forever, we want to give the names to the devotees. So the process is of getting your name is first you offer your obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. You have the Asasanta Prabhupada, then the deities, and then my not so humble self. People always say, please accept my humble obeisances. I'm just wondering, you know. Of course, humble means, you know, I'm not so good. But in certain contexts, the first time I heard that, I thought, you're saying you're humble? So I usually like to say, please accept my prostrated obeisances. You know, that means Dandabha. Prostrated obeisances, yeah. Okay, so first will be Ashwin Kumar. And what we're going to do is take the vows. Vows mean that I will chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regulative principles, and devote my life to the service of Srila Prabhupada. And we're going to ask people what the 4 regulative principles are. And the principle of no intoxication includes kava.
गुरु महाराज आप सभी शिष्य आगे बढ़ाएंगे जिसका नाम बुलाएंगे वो श्री प्रभुपाद के पास धन्यवाद करें भगवान के पास फिर गुरु महाराज के पास धन्यवाद कर 4 कसम जो है आप बताइए कि जीवन भर नहीं करेंगे मांस नहीं शराब नहीं नहीं परास्त्री अमृत संग 16 माला जप करेंगे और एकादशी को फिर गुरुदेव के द्वारा उनको माला पहनाइए और वो आपके दाहिना हाथ में माला देंगे फिर आप दक्षिणा देकर धन्यवाद कर वापस आ जाएंगे ठीक है तो पहला है अश्विन जी is all the way from Tabua और बतकोला गोल्ड माइन में काम कर रहे हैं इनके घर पर अभी बहुत विशाल भागवत हुए थे पूरे ताबुआ जनता को बुलाए थे और बहुत दिनों से कृष्ण मंत्र जप कर रहे हैं
He works in the gold mine, so he has some gold he brought with him.
Yeah, you can. They say you come to home, then they'll see you.
Yeah, all right. I will definitely come to this home.
तो दोनों जन आप देख सकते हैं अश्विन जी है मोनिका राधिका प्रसाद है दोनों बहुत अच्छे भक्त हैं जब से ये लोग ताबुआ भक्त बने बहुत आंदोलन मचा रहे हैं तो हम सभी मिलकर ताबुआ से कल रात में आए थे